Okay, welcome to the TAD Summit online conference. I'm really happy to have Alex, CEO of UMail, with me. Alex, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, as I shared, I just discovered I have Lyme's disease, which explains why I thought I was getting so old. Anyway, I'm having horse antibiotics at the moment. Well, horse-sized antibiotics. But let's have a chat around why has spam remained so bad. There's been so much work done over the years, yet today I had because it was like over the weekend I didn't get any robocalls. Frustratingly, they keep leaving bloody voice messages, but today I've had two already. So it comes and goes, it's up and down, but it remains a significant problem and time wasting because there's messages I need to pick up, but I'm picking up stuff from the policy department or from the approvals department. So I'm just like, please stop. So and I still remember, when was it? It was last year in August, where Cineverse got switched off and they moved over to Infobit, and it was quiet. I was like, oh, this is what the PSTN used to be like. People are calling who want to talk to me. And I know, and we're having real conversations over the PSTN. Now, it was a short window, but we're now, unfortunately back to where we were at, the start of 2024. But anyway, Alex, interested to chat around why things aren't getting better and what we need to do to make it better.
Well, so I think the first thing is there's actually proof things aren't getting better.
Yeah.
Right. So at SIPNOC a few weeks ago, I put up a chart which was the unwanted robocalls.
Yes.
Right. So not just all robocalls. Like I actually like when CVS drops a quick voicemail that my prescription's ready.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the unwanted ones have had this sort of three-phase thing. They dropped like crazy from 2021 to 2023 as SearchShaken rolled out. That was a big driver. And there were major enforcement actions like the car warranty scammers. Right?
Yes.
Nice big drop. We're all going, hey, this is pretty cool. Then it kind of went up a little bit and flattened out again for about 2 years. And it was really just enforcement action, get rid of student loans, get rid of health. But every time there was an enforcement action, it caused a drop for a while before it spiked up.
Yeah.
Then January of 2024, it's been on a steady increase until today in terms of unwanted calls. Yeah. They're driven by mostly loan calls. Like something to do with debt reduction. We've got a prepaid loan for you or a pre-approved loan for you. And enforcement helps, but they're not doing quite as much enforcement. And so it hits a little bit for a month and a half, 2 months, and then boom, it goes right back up.
Exactly. It's whack-a-mole. You've got so many people that see this as a way to make money, and they make good money.
And what's happened is two things. So one is enforcement's taking longer because the fraud guys are getting more targeted, so they're getting harder to chase down. Yeah. And that eats up a lot of enforcement's efforts, right? We want to protect grandma.
Yes.
But the other thing is these are now telemarketing calls, and telemarketing calls take more investigative resources. Well, what is the violation? How do we go see what the violation is? Do we want to spend time in case they really do have consent? What's going on? And it ends up being a slog for enforcement. Yeah. And so that's what's happening is the bad guys are taking advantage of that. They've also gotten really smart about SearchShaken loopholes. The whole third-party signing thing, they're just hidden in traffic.
Yes.
They know the TDM routes. They know prepaid SIMs. So you just see the bad guys spread out and are taking full advantage of it.
Exactly. And we saw the article on that big fine discovery in New York City with all those prepaid SIMs and, showing just, here's the SIM boxes, here's your connection off to the internet. And of course, what I found amazing was so many people saw that and didn't realize you could have such automation. And they were like, but there's thousands of connections. Don't the telcos realize? Can't they just identify the Verizon box and stop that bad connection? It's like, well, you need one side talking to the other, and by the time you've discovered it, it's all too late anyway. So it's interesting how people are discovering just the complexity, but also the automation that exists there as well.
Well, and it's really tough because it's super profitable for everybody, right? I mean, the carriers make money by having more customers. I'm sure
Yes.
there's someone at one of these prepaid guys who woke up one day and said, wow, we've added 100,000 cards in 3 months. My marketing's awesome, right? And not realize what actually happened, right? Which is
Exactly.
probably some reseller got a batch, quickly sold them to one group, pretend it
Yeah.
was a bunch. And so
Exactly.
when you look at that, you go, how does that exist? And it exists because there's no KYC. There's absolutely
Correct.
no know your customer.
Yeah.
We have talked about this in public before. When I went to go get a T-Mobile transfer from, I think it was AT&T, I had to show my driver's license and my wife's driver's license. And I mean, it's
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
right? It was a lot of
Exactly.
work.
With a family plan, I mean, they want every identity proven, and they take the photographs as well. So it's like everything is, signed, sealed, and delivered. But unfortunately, there are a lot of, as you say, third parties that don't necessarily do that.
You can go into Walmart, buy a stack of them, but these guys are
Yeah.
clearly buying online or buying from resellers, but
Correct.
there's no KYC. So the first thing to do here clearly on prepaid is get some KYC in place. There's no reason why everybody can't have 1, 2, 3, however many little prepaids they want.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
have to know who they are.
Correct. Absolutely. 100%. And we saw that like in Europe, where I mean, years ago now, but you had to prove. And even recently, when I was in France, getting some prepaid SIMs, and I had to show my passport. You have to prove your identity. There are a whole host of sort of signing my life away documents as well. But they spend the time to prove identities and to do the checks that the identities are valid as well. So
So
it's
that's a
possible.
legal thing. Somebody's got to get legislation in place that says you
Yeah.
can't have anonymous phone numbers, right? And I
Correct.
understand why you might want them, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But somebody's got to know that you've got that number.
Exactly, exactly. And the anonymous phone number needs the higher hurdle, to an extent, because okay, but you can do a lot of damage with this. So I think, yeah, that's an interesting area.
I think another big one though is that once you get the phone number, let's say
Yeah.
you did get KYC, but the phone number is out there. Who's watching what it's doing?
Correct.
Right? There are monitoring tools. Email's got one, Raptor's got one that can watch phone numbers. If you see, you gave out 100,000 numbers, but 100 of them are showing up, that's a clue that there's something really bad going on. They're all at the same location. They're through the same prepaid provider.
Yeah,
We need some investigative work. So the prepaid guys
exactly.
need to be forced to monitor what they're putting out there and
I
act
agree.
on it.
Exactly. I mean, because it's maybe, this, SIM has only ever done outbound calling or only ever done outbound SMS. And it happens to be from the same location. It hasn't physically moved. I mean, there should be some characteristics where you can go warning sign, warning sign. This is just basic data analytics, surely.
Yeah, and I'd add one other thing, which is the economics itself of prepaid. We want lower income people to
Oh,
have,
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
and it's great that it's no contract. But I think if you're going to have a phone number, you pay it for a year and it's stuck for a year.
Yes.
In other words, you pay maybe $1 a month. You pay $12 extra the first time you get a phone number, and you've got it for a year. And that phone number can't be reused for a year.
Yes.
Now, if I'm getting 100,000 phone numbers, that's $1.2 million up front. It's starting to put some effort, it's putting some constraints on people's ability to scale up quickly. And so
Exactly.
I'm not sure that's the exact right idea, but I think there needs to be some economics around, you want a phone number, you got to pay for a phone number. It's got to be material enough that it doesn't harm people, but the bad guy who wants a zillion of them is going to have an issue.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you just it requires that investment, and also with KYC, you've got an identity, a proven identity associated with those numbers. So when enforcement happens, there's something you can enforce against. Otherwise, it's, well, who owns this apartment?
Well, what's great too is, the last thing is we want to put people in jail who are doing bad things,
Correct.
right? And so anything we can do to make it easier for investigators and make it more clear there's a crime that's been committed other
Yes.
than making calls, the better off we are. So
Yes.
if you have to show your identity to get a number, it's fraud if you put a fake identity. If you're
Correct.
a reseller and you make up a bunch of identities, that's fraud. That's criminal. That goes to jail.
Yes.
Right. And so I
Absolutely.
think you're starting to build a set of things here to make it so the people who get around them have committed a clear crime.
I agree. That needs to be stated, and it's clear and it's proven. You can take that to court, a court of law, where it's like, this is a crime. I mean, granted, it might require Congress to do something there, but
well, there is an interesting thing. A lot of people make fun of the robocall mitigation database. Oh, great! It's super easy to fake, do whatever. But it turns out it's a penalty of perjury if you knowingly put false information in there.
Yeah.
So it's, the lie that gets you in trouble, not the action. And so exactly, I think what people are not paying attention to is they can start going after people, especially repeat offenders.
Yes.
For perjury.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of, cleaning up that can happen. I mean, because from the outside looking in, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. It's like, well, we've done this. And then, the crooks who are innovative, they're looking at, well, I can make, a lot of money here. They immediately say, well, why don't we do this? And they just, move the goalposts a little bit, and then enforcement becomes that little bit harder, or they find workarounds. I mean, like this, sort of like the IMEI, so the equipment number, you can basically rotate those. So you're not seeing for the same equipment number, all these outbound calls or outbound SMS. So it's, the correlation from a data analysis becomes a little bit more difficult. I mean, that's granted within the sandbox, but it's,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then I would just add, economics is a problem. The people making the money are not the people harmed, right?
Yes.
And so by providing phone numbers, providing carrier services, I mean, carriers aren't necessarily bad guys, but they're out to make money. They're making money.
Exactly, yeah.
They have no incentive to shut this stuff down, right?
Yes.
And no responsibility in general. We're a pipe, we're dumb pipe, we don't know what's going on in our network. And so I think some of that has to change. Like, I get the carrier can't be responsible for everything, but there's some basic stuff you can do. Like, you can't let a guy with a gun go into a bank if you see a guy with a gun, right?
Exactly.
So you gotta be looking for the guns.
Exactly. Because that, I think it's analyzing the data on your network, because with the SIM-box detection shouldn't be that difficult. You've got all these SIMs operating in a certain way in a particular location. You should be able to, there should be a warning. It's like an alarm going off or something. Saying, guys, there's nefarious activities taking place at this address. So there's somewhere where you can physically send enforcement that is physical enforcement, because these are criminal actions, because it's not small sums are stealing from people. It's tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars are being stolen from people that fall for, in the piece I wrote before, introducing with what we were going to cover, I have a challenge with my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, and some of the things they respond to, it's just like, don't. Did you? Well, because it's Bruce Willis and there was this video. No, don't. The video's fake. Why can't you realize that the whole context around that was BS? But
it's amazing how many people don't understand that what you can do with AI in terms of videos and voice. One of the interesting things is that in the political climate in the US, people are doing more spammy, video fakes, right?
Yes.
Like, pretending to be Trump or pretending to be Kamala Harris, all this. And people are now aware, like, wait, how did they do? That's not real. Whoa.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to be anything can be fake.
Yes.
So in a weird way, I think all the trolling everybody's doing is providing a great service in educating people as to what's possible.
I agree for people that are in that segment that's seeing that trollings of like if you use Reddit, but there's a segment that tends to be more elderly that just isn't looking at that stuff. So as a result, has such little awareness of what technology can do. I don't know. Is it training? Do we have to give internet security training to certain elements of society?
I saw a study that said the training really didn't work. It was actually in an enterprise context where they trained people and they had other people that weren't trained, and after 3 months they both were getting scammed at the same rate. And I think training's important to at least train people with a simple message. So what I just train everybody, my family, take a beat, pause, and
Yes,
don't respond.
exactly.
If Amazon said there's a charge on your account, hang up, deal with it later. It's not the end of the world. And just getting people to hang up and deal with it later is helpful. But we as an industry have a big responsibility here. We should not be allowing this at the scale that it is.
Exactly. It is. It's a scale thing. And we've covered, like with voice AI, training where, because the best, teaching is when you make a mistake. And they use voice AI and they scam basically people in enterprises. So when they don't do what the training said, when you basically get caught in a scam, it could be just a simple release of particular information because of a conversation that's happening, because of the social engineering behind it. Then it's like, you did that, and we have the recording, and it's like it makes people think, double take. So training, I think, can make a difference if it's not just slideware and boring videos. You need to be caught. And once you're caught, it's like, damn.
No, it's a good point where they do all the training or all the stuff where they try to get people in a scam and see how they react. It does bring up a really interesting point. If you're an enterprise, your weakest link for a data breach is just some random employee.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
All they have to do is make one mistake. The bad guys are in the network and it's all over. And you know what's going to happen? It's not going to be on your enterprise phone with all the security. It's on their iPhone that they're playing games with, and then they get a text, right?
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
They go.
That's right. I know. It's astounding how easy it is to get and to link phone numbers, personal phone numbers for people within particular enterprises. I mean, we've seen it, with Cisco hacks, with Microsoft hacks, where basically, and there are groups on WhatsApp, where you can basically go in and, pay not pennies, but it's dollars for basically a list of phone numbers of potentially people that are people of interest that could be worth phishing against.
You bring up a great point, which one of the other reasons we're in this mess is the data breaches.
Yes.
Like, with enterprise, there's been huge data breaches of LinkedIn.
Yes.
You've got the mother of all data breaches is out there with 26 billion records. You can take a ChatGPT or other LLM, bump them together and go, here's my targets at this enterprise and here's a personal phone. You don't need genius to do that. It's like the LLMs can do it.
Exactly.
And there's so much data out there. It's like, oh, I wonder what bank accounts this person has. Oh, well, here's the bank. And you just put it all together and you've got, remember when they do AI targeting for ads, or they were doing, build this profile? The bad guys can build a really compelling profile enough to prove that they're whoever they say they are, talking to you about your account. And
exactly.
There is no way around that right now. You have to get the bad guys in jail. You've got to be shutting them down so they can't hit scale with campaigns.
Yeah.
It's a full court press in a number of different areas. And it's training people, unfortunately, to just ignore the PSTN, right?
That's right. That's where we are. I mean, for me personally, I have so many calls that come through. It's like spam likely. It's just ignored. It's ignored. I've ignored my doctor so many times, her voice message, when it's trapped, well, it's not trapped, but it's just in a whole litany of other spam voice messages I'm going through. It's like delete.
And what's interesting is a lot of the solutions aren't well thought out to this problem that like Apple's got their new call screening.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
And
so saw that.
It's a pretty interesting thing. Ask the callers their name and why they're calling. The problem is the bad guys are just, well, it's Amazon and here's why I'm calling. And it shows up on your phone.
Yes.
And now it feels really urgent. Oh, I better press the button. Yes. And even worse, every one of those calls results in you running to look and now read. All they did was push the screening to you off of stuff you read versus stuff you hear. Exactly. And so we got to get a lot smarter. It reminds me of like my Tesla has dumb summon. You stand behind it, you press a button, it comes to you. It's mildly useful. If it's too tight in a parking lot, I can get it. But they also have actively smart summon. And actively smart summon is you stand in the parking lot at the mall, press a button, your car finds its way to you. That's useful, right?
Exactly.
With what we got with call screening now, we've got dumb screening. And what we need is actively smart screening, which is, hey, this phone number is causing trouble. You're never going to get bothered by it. Or, hey, this is actually an automated call. It couldn't get past a little CAPTCHA. oh, it's this name doesn't, who they say, or doesn't match what's in the database for numbers. Like, do a lot
Exactly.
more so that
Yeah,
when you get a call, it's like, okay, this is Alan. I think I want to talk to him. Like, it's all the other
exactly.
crap was filtered out. And I
Exactly.
think that's where we've got to get to is way more AI. But that requires data, it requires training. It's a lot of work. We work on that stuff, and it's a hard problem.
Exactly. And the carrier networks are seeing all that data. They're seeing millions of calls. They know, well, they have a fair idea of, what's a dodgy number that has emerged, and has been for the last 3 hours doing outbound calls to basically target numbers because some numbers are targeted. I mean, I mentioned about my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law. They're targeted at a rate that's just horrendous.
You know what's funny is if there's actually some carriers that are just inherently bad, right? They should just be blocked in the network. Like
Yes.
we need to give permissions to carriers where if you see certain behavioral patterns for another carrier, you just block it. That carrier can't
Yes.
put anything on the network. Give them more freedom to block at the carrier level, not at the
Yeah.
number level.
Exactly. Exactly. So I guess when we were putting the piece together for this session, I everybody is motivated to action. I mean, I've put like FCC is seeking comments. And stir shaken. We're seeing basically state actions, for example, in Texas. I mean, because we raised the point, no more signed calls. Yet it seems to be there's always a reason, there's always an excuse, there's always an exception. I mean, is it really that hard to just basically put a stake in the ground and say no more non-signed calls?
I think we're going to get there. I think you can certainly demand out of bands, stir shaken, right?
Yes.
And do that. I think it's putting a bit of a band-aid on the problem. It'll help. Yeah. But I think, we have to look at the real reasons why we haven't moved to all IP.
Yeah.
One of them is economic, right? It's the carrier compensation where a lot of the smaller carriers, their money is made on TDM because by regulation, they only get paid on that. They move to VoIP, the deals aren't as good.
Yep.
And so I think that's where the FCC has to step in and say, you know what, we are going to go to all IP. We do want carriers in Iowa. We do want these things.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're gonna make the compensation not dependent on how you got the call.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
remove the
that's
technology
just one
dependence.
There's a million of them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think we need the FCC to step in and get the economics to work because a lot of this is going to be economic problems, right?
You're right. Absolutely, 100%.
But there are, from what I didn't know until the last year, where there are technical issues. Like a lot of the 911 system is wired up to TDM.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you probably don't want to say, okay, now we're all IP and there's no more 911.
Yeah.
So they've got to figure out, okay, we actually have to fix that problem, which it looks like it's hardware, it's connections, and put a budget together to over an 18, 24-month period, say, we're going to find all these problems and we're going to replace them. So as a goal in this country, we are no longer going to have anything that's not going over an IP network in 36 months or 24 months. We know it's a rush. Here's what we have to do.
Exactly.
And I think my gut is the FCC is headed that way from when you hear them speak at conferences. They don't want this to stay there. They know some of this stuff is artificial. Yeah. And a lot of it just maybe needs a little bit of an act of Congress to clean stuff up so that it doesn't sit in court forever after they do it.
Exactly. That makes a lot of sense. And again, you said this right at the start, but it's the financial consequences, because they make good money with all these scams, and having financial consequences across the whole delivery chain, I think, is critical for actions have consequences.
Well, I have a really simple one I think they should do, and I don't know if they have the authority, but I would mandate you have to leave a voicemail if you're doing an automated call. Period. Because there's a couple of reasons for that. One is it changes the economics fundamentally. A lot of these bad guys ring 3 times and hang up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so they don't pay anything, and there's a setup charge and all, for the carriers. Like, let's just stop that. If you're calling me, you got to leave a message. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that fundamentally would change the economics, and then the bad guys would leave more signals of what they're doing. So it's not like we have to build all these bots to try to talk to them. It's like, here, this is what they're doing. So that's something that's another change the economics.
Yes.
Right? It becomes unprofitable to call a ton of people anymore if you're only getting 1 in a million responding.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, are there other ways in which we can change the economics?
Well,
I
I guess one of the other ones is phone numbers, right? So the fact is, it costs a penny, 2 cents to get a phone number, depending on the carrier. You can get
Yeah,
100,000 phone numbers a day and rotate through them for a few $100
correct.
a day,
Yeah,
or 10,000 for a few $100. We have to stop that. So I
exactly.
think, and also the short lifetime of phone numbers. And so
Yes,
my take would be, when you get a phone number, you get it for a year, you pay for the year
minimum.
at
Exactly.
once. So
Yeah,
instead of 2 cents, it's 25 cents, or maybe you start having taxes on it. And that's the new model. And
yeah.
it should be, I'd actually make it a government tax on every phone number that has to be
Yes.
paid. And
Yeah.
the government uses that to scale up enforcement and do the rest.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because enforcement is expensive. I mean, it's lawyers. Lawyers aren't cheap. I mean, I saw
Data collection and data analysis and investigation and lawyers, and it's everybody, right?
exactly. Yeah. No. No. There's a lot of pieces that come together to create those costs. But yeah.
But those two things, I think, if you have to pay more to get a phone number, you have the
Yeah.
phone number for a longer period of time, and
Yes.
you could just start with marketing calls. You have to leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
Because then a carrier can go, wait, this number is scaling. This customer is scaling on calls. They're not
Yeah.
leaving any voicemails. I can shut them off.
Exactly. Exactly. No. No. Because I was thinking, it's like for the phone number I have here, I've had it since '99. So it's almost like we need a database of it's just a person, and you can use all that data in terms of how long the phone number has been valid, in terms of churn or whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of signals we can add in there, but just this phone number has been attached to this name for so many decades, and it's carte blanche. It's like, you're good. We know you're honest. And we can allow people to have that nice experience of the PSTN. I don't know. It's how can, I just we're all treated as if it's all greenfield, and we're not recognizing all the history associated with numbers, and which leads to, this is a real person. It's Alan that's calling. It shouldn't be spam likely. Okay, Alan may not have called you in the last year, but he still shouldn't be spam likely.
Well, you're almost stepping into another minefield, which is branded calling, which is the business having their identity show up,
Yes.
and the business having to pay to have their identity show up.
Yes.
I mean, that's a real challenge, right? And we're
Correct.
already seeing the fraud where it's a fake business showing up. And,
Yes.
I worry that we're basically telling businesses, you know what, you can pay a lot of money to show up when you call somebody, or since you've already got an app, Bank X,
Exactly.
just call from your app.
Yes.
Call from the service to the app, and don't use the PSTN at all.
Exactly. That's right. I mean, you can just message them. It's far less intrusive, and quite a lot of times it's just a yes or no answer from the customer. So it's like, use the app, use basically in-app messaging, and you can get the response you need or the notification you need.
Well, if it's real time, you can have voice. There's no reason voice is easy to do in app, right? And I'm looking at it more and more, like, the airlines, they used to call all the time with flight alerts and text, and now it just pops up in the app. Like, I actually asked them to text me in case the app's not running or something, but
Oh, yeah.
no one can fake an airline for me.
No,
The app is always there. I'm starting to
exactly.
see it with some of the banks, right? Like, the banks are connecting to me with messaging in their app. Hey, that looks like a fraudulent transaction. Is this really you? They
Yes.
stop calling. They stop texting. That's the one where I'm going to pay attention. And that's the death of the PSTN. As
Exactly.
the business use case goes away,
Yes.
if you've got kids, like the way I talk to my kids in general, and they're pretty telephone, centric,
Yeah.
is Snapchat.
Exactly.
Video call on Snapchat, they pop up right away.
Exactly. Snapchat is dominant. I just look at the volume of traffic my son generates with Snapchat. And when I'm talking about mobile marketing, it's like, you need to be on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. It's like the Labubu dolls or whatever. They use TikTok. And it's not just the reach and the advertising, it's the store as well. So it's a messaging platform that, would they use RCS? Well, no. Would they use SMS? Well, no. They're using all these online mechanisms because most of our phones are IP connected devices. And for that segment,
exactly. It's even grandma. They FaceTime grandma, right?
yes.
Like I have some texts from my kids, but it's usually because they're at a doctor's appointment. They're texting me. It was, there's certain things, or they're driving a call while they're driving, a real phone call and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like everybody else. And so what's happened is you've got the businesses fleeing. You got the Gen Zers who've built up habits that have nothing to do with phone calling. Millennials are transferring over.
Yes.
Leaving, the Gen Xers and the occasional boomers, and that just ages out. And
exactly.
It's really sad that by the time this all gets fixed, no one's going to care. I mean, that's a little bit of a depressing way to look at it, but it feels like it's on that trend unless we.
That's where my gut is. I just sort of look at it and you see the trajectories, and it's like, well, this is just going to age out. I was having this discussion today. Actually, I had a doctor's appointment, where I discovered, the Lyme's disease, and 8 bands out of 10. So it's like, you had this for a while, Alan. But we were discussing the problems in reaching because she'd left a message because she wanted to discuss the results. But fortunately, I had an appointment, so we got to see face to face. But I ignored the message because it was in a stack of basically 4 or 5 messages where I was just going delete, and then oh damn, I deleted that message.
Well, and you brought up another thing, which is I think maybe the one thing where the person who has it right is David Erickson. He talks about permission-based calling.
Yes.
Because Gen Z is already there. You don't just call somebody other than your parents unless you text them first.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Now business people are like, they'll send me an email saying, hey, can we set up a call? Okay, now there's a call that's set up. Yeah. And so that whole freedom of, hey, let me just call, see how someone's doing is just gone.
Exactly.
Right?
No, that's
when
good.
you narrow it down to permission-based, it's just not the way it was, right?
Correct.
Freedom to connect. But I feel like it's going there really fast, even without any tools.
Yep.
Right?
Like but it's also, it's a freedom to connect where it's not interrupt. So the reason they send the messages, they don't interrupt you. You could be doing a whole host of other things. You want to give people a chance to say, yeah, okay, 10 o'clock, will work for me. And you give people that pause, and it might only be a 5-minute call, but it gives people the chance to set it in their schedule and then to connect and get the mind in the right framework, because we're always hopping between so many different things. Anyway, so asking for permission to set up a time and then to have, what tends to be a highly productive conversation, because the context. You've got, you understand the importance and relevance of why you're having this discussion, rather than you interrupted, oh, damn, your mind's off somewhere else. And so it's, use of our time. But this has been really fun. Unfortunately, I have to concur with a very interesting juncture. I think some actions need to be done, and they need to be done aggressively. And, whether the politics is there, I don't know. We'll see. Otherwise, it's moving to the internet, and that's where communications will remain, unfortunately.
And I think, there, in some ways it's okay, right? A video call is great. Like, it doesn't have to go over your PSTN phone number.
No.
When you have 10 different channels, you're getting snapped, you've got a call coming in, you've got, the meeting thing up. It's a lot. And it'd be nice to have a way to sort of sort through that. But I think there's a use case for the telcos. The use case for the PSTN that's there.
Yes.
But it's declining quickly, and we need to take action to keep it there.
Oh, yeah. And we'll always remain there because of emergency services. Full stop. There will always be a segment, granted getting older and older and older, but, that emergency services, the service you need when, shit hits the fan. Simple example, we had a storm blow through back in August. And it was just all hell. It was like we had inches of rain over a short period of time. I've shown the video of the street. It was just a river. a brown river running down. People had water pouring into their houses, basements flooding. And what did everybody rely on? 911.
Absolutely. Well, we had a fire here that took out all the cell towers and made 911 disappear.
Oh,
And then everybody realized how much the phone mattered, right?
yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that was a tough, tough situation. But cool, no, I've really enjoyed this, Alex. Thanks so much for your time. And is there anything you wanted to finish off on?
I think it's, I'd like to have everybody in the industry start thinking about what can I do to try to make the problem better.
Yeah.
And I think, and forget about it. Are you making money doing it? Just how do we make it better? Because if we keep the network, there'll be plenty of money. If we lose it, a lot of this money is just a cash grab.
I agree. I agree. Absolutely. I think that is, we are reaching that point where, the customers have gone. We're basically, it's emergency services. The government is funding X percentage and it's cost plus. There's very little sort of margin in there for many players. But again, thank you so much, Alex. This was great. I really enjoyed it.
That was fun.